Well, anyway, I'm Naomi Rose, and as David put it, I'm a character in his book, which is a little odd. I'm a real person. And um, I made the decision a few years ago, I've been doing this now for 20 years, so I made the decision 20 years ago to leave academia and move into advocacy. And when I took the job at the Humane Society of the United States, which is where I started, I now work for Humane Society International. I thought, oh, I'll try this for a couple of years and see how I like it. And it was 20 years ago. And it just turned out that it was a good fit for me. John Black may laugh when I say this, but I actually think I would have made a pretty good lawyer. I like to argue. I like to present logical arguments and challenge others to, defend themselves when faced with those logical arguments. And aside from the fact that I truly love these animals, and I had 5 amazing years in the field with them, and I've been working on their welfare and on their protection for the last 20 years, and I still get to see them both in the wild and in captivity, the real reason why I've put so much effort into this is because it offends me. It's just so illogical. Everybody is saying it's okay, it's good for education, it's good for conservation, the whales are fine, when it's so blatantly not true. And I don't like it, this whole the emperor is not wearing any clothes, issue here. I mean, we're all just sitting here like, we being the public, just sort of sitting there, taking that in as if, sure, what he's wearing is lovely, when in fact he's buck naked, and these whales are not doing well. They are not behaving naturally. The education is false, and David describes it very well in the book. What you get from Seaworld is not true. It's incorrect. It's inaccurate. So as an academic, as a scientist, that offends me. So there's just so many things about the public display of these animals that offended me. And so when I was asked to take on this campaign, when I joined the Humane Society, it was very easy for me to just put aside my objectivity. As David put it, he's a journalist and he's supposed to show both sides. Well, I'm a scientist and I'm supposed to remain objective. It was very easy for me to put that aside and say, you know what? There's nothing to be objective about here. This is wrong. And I've spent the last 20 years making that argument, and as the blurb for the book puts, I was a voice in the wilderness. Not quite. I mean, I had a lot of good colleagues, good friends, a lot of people in the communities I am associated with, like the scientific community, actually agree with us on this. They just are concerned, nervous, timid about saying it out loud. But those sorts of quiet support, that kind of quiet support is actually very morale boosting when you're the one on the front line sort of taking all the blows. If you do read the book, which of course I hope everybody here does, buy it, read it. There's a URL link to the April 2010 congressional hearing, which was another opportunity to sort of expose the fact that the emperor is wearing no clothes. The OSHA hearing was one of those, and this congressional hearing was one of those moments. And if you watch that on C-SPAN, it's really amazing what the Seaworld representative who was there, tries to say to these congressional representatives. And again, it's just obviously they've been getting away with it for 40 years. So I think they're a little bit in shock since all of this started in February of 2010 at how fewer and fewer people are buying it. And that's what I think the book is really all about, is to show people that you don't have to buy this. You don't have to buy the ticket. You don't have to buy the arguments. You don't have to buy it. It's false. And for a long time, I was a voice in the wilderness. I was all alone, and in the scientific community anyway. And then in the last few years, more and more people have been speaking up. Lori is speaking up. There's a few other people in the scientific community who's speaking up. And the NGOs got more coordinated. We've been working really hard on coordination. And then, this tragedy, Don Brancher was killed, and for some reason, and I still don't understand it, and I've been doing this for so long and I don't get it, it resonated. It made a difference. We've had a few semi-pivotal, almost pivotal moments that didn't quite get there. This one, I think, was either the tipping point or was the beginning of the tipping point. And why, I don't know. 2 people had died before her, and in fact 3 people had died before her, and we didn't even know about the third one. And now suddenly it made a difference I still don't know why, and I'm not going to question it, but it happened. And so for the first time in 18 years at the time it occurred, I felt hopeful. And 2 years later, I'm still hopeful. Things have changed. The playing field is changed. If most of you are from Atlanta, I'm assuming, and so you know that there's a proposal to import 18 beluga whales to the Georgia Aquarium. These are wild-caught animals. Let me tell you something. If this new energized community has anything to say about it, that's not happening. And I'm, just personally very determined to try to stop it. It is a very regressive action. They haven't imported deliberately wild-caught animals for public display into the United States for a U.S. facility in 20 years. The last attempt to import these animals happened the first year I got the job. And I'd like to think it was like one of the first campaigns I was involved with, and that was one of the ones I won, or we won as a community. And it's not happening. It's just not happening. So if you want to come to Silver Spring and have your voice be heard, please do. I think this is something we're going to win in the court of public opinion, not necessarily in the regulatory arena or in the courts. But we'll try, if it comes to that, to win it in the courts. But I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. I'm hoping that the weight of public pressure forces the Georgia Aquarium to get a clue. Anyway, as far as the book is concerned, I think one of the reasons we have more hope about this sort of action is because of Death at Seaworld, because of the coherence of David's book. It is all in one place now, and it is really readable. So anybody who's intimidated by the 440 pages, seriously, don't be. It's a very, very fast read.
It got very good reviews.
It got very good reviews. But not just for the content, but for the readability. I mean, it moves. You're going to finish this book. Some people that I know have finished it in one sitting. So it literally is the kind of book you can't put down. And I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. I was taken with the way he wrote it myself. I was just finding myself on page 320 before I knew it.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind when you stare at the thickness of the tome. And thank you all for coming, because I really think it's people who, the people here in this room right now who are making a difference for what I've been fighting for 20 years. Thank you.